Hey Squad, so I feel like this topic has been covered a lot here on YouTube recently, but I feel like I still should share my experience on the Sierra just because I feel like there's something somebody can learn from it. Alright, so a little background on my situation. I thru hiked last year in 2022. It was a low snow year and I got to Kennedy Meadows on May 10th, went into the Sierra then, and I just went in with micro spikes and an ice axe. And I ditched the ice axe at Mammoth Lakes. My resupply stops were from Kennedy Meadows to Mammoth Lakes, and then from Mammoth Lakes to Kennedy Meadows North, and then Tahoe, if you count Tahoe. It's kind of a fuzzy northern border. And yes, this was kind of extreme, especially with the 200-mile stretch from Kennedy Meadows south to Mammoth Lakes. But there are other resupply options, so don't freak out, because there's options for you. You can go into Lone Pine, you can go into Bishop, you can go to Mirror Ranch if it's open. I'm not familiar. You want to send a box there, I'm aware of that. I don't know anything besides that. It's complicated, that's why I didn't do it. And VVR also easier than Mirror Ranch from my understanding, but also complicated. Plus it wasn't open when I went through, so not option for me. And then Mammoth Lakes, obviously. And then you can always send a box to I can never pronounce it. To Ptolemy Meadows in Yosemite. Hopefully I pronounced that right. They have a post office there. Yes, but it's going under renovations, that area, so just be aware of that for the next couple of years. I think the post office is still open, but I'm not sure. Do your research. So moving on, your ice axe. I did ditch my ice axe in Mammoth Lakes because of the low snow year, and honestly I was using my trekking poles for more than I probably should have. I was more comfortable with my trekking poles. I honestly didn't even know how to use this. I still don't, so take all this advice with a grain of salt. So, there are 3 types of ice axes. A technical ice axe, an alpine ice axe, or a walking/general ice axe. Technical ice axes are generally for ice climbing, so if you're just hiking, stay away from them. It's complicated, confusing, you don't need to get into that. You'll either want an alpine ice axe, which is technically what this is, or a walking ice axe, which is basically without the bend. Alpine ice axes just have this little bend in them, if that makes sense. Right, and then the terminology for the parts of your ice axe are the following. Your head's here, the pick is this sharp part in the front, the axle is the back part, your shaft is going down to the spike on the end. Stay with me now, because this is how you're going to want to hold your ice axe. You're going to want to hold it on the side of the hill that is up from you. So if you're walking up, okay? Uphill, so. And then the grip you want is simply a finger gun. Easiest way to explain it is a finger gun. So you're going to want to take your ice axe, wrap your hand around the head on the side of the spike, put your thumb on the axle end, and put your index finger down, pointing down towards the shaft, okay? And then that's simply what you do. And when you fall, if you fall, when and if you fall, you're going to easily slam the pick into the snow. And it is complicated because you can fall in many different ways, and each of them have a different fall technique, but basically you're going to want to shove the pick into the snow, hold on to the shaft grab the shaft with your other hand, slow yourself down, stop, move your body on top of the ice axe, get your feet stable so you can stand back up. Now this is complicated because there's many different ways you can fall downhill, and definitely do your own research on this because you can fall head first, feet first, on your front, on your back, and I guess on your side too, and head over heels. So just be aware of this because falling is unpredictable. Alright, with that done, let's move on to microspikes. Do you need microspikes? Technically, no. I would still recommend them though. And they will help you. I only know like 2 or 3 people that didn't use microspikes. Everybody else around me had microspikes, was using them, and yeah. But you could go through them without. So yeah, basically microspikes will help your shoes from sliding because as good as your tread is, your shoes are going to slide on the snow. And these are built to dig in and stop you from sliding on the snow. Also, I want to quickly bring up crampons. I do not have any experience with crampons. They are mostly used for ice climbing in my experience, but if you're in a high snow year, I would look into them because they are heavier, but they'll give you more traction than microspikes. And microspikes are more or less made for patchy snow. I mean, they do work for snow, but like, it's not the end of the world if you have snow and then rocks and then snow and then rocks. With crampons, from my understanding, you can only use them on the snow itself. Otherwise, you will ruin them. So yeah. And these also save me a lot. Now, however, they do not save you from post-holing. So just be aware of post-holing, because post-holing is not fun. So what you need to know about post-holing is simply, it sucks. So if you're unfamiliar, post-holing is where you fall through the snow because it's more melted on the bottom than on the top. So you fall through and then you basically have to dig yourself out. Not fun. So just make sure you have a strong foothold. Don't put all your body weight on your foot at once. The way I recommend preventing post-holing is simply just not putting all your body weight on your foot at once. You have to go kind of slow. So slowly put your body weight on your foot. Also like move your foot back and forth a little just to like make sure the snow is sturdy there. Because I always like when I took a step, I would take a step and then I would move my foot back and forth, put my foot down, hold my weight on the foot, take up my next foot, and so on and so forth. Alright, and that brings us to fording. Fording rivers is a topic I could make a whole video about, but basically what you need to know is that the snow will melt, and it'll melt fast, and the rivers will rise. So, speaking from my experience, I got to Kennedy Meadows in a cold snap, so the rivers weren't high when I went into the Sierras, but by the time I got to Mammoth Lakes, the heat had returned and the rivers started to rise at a rapid pace. And yeah, and the inevitable happened, and I did end up getting swept down the river. Elephant in the room. But yeah, so that experience, I did everything wrong. There was a hiker behind me, I could have waited for them. So if you know there's other people around, don't do it alone. Anything over your knees is risky. The river was up to my hips, and when it's up to your hips like that, you're at the same buoyancy as swimming apparently, so that's not good. And I should have turned around, but I didn't. I was stubborn, and I should have checked far out guides. The app everybody uses to navigate, because there was a comment in there saying that there was a log upstream I could have crossed over, but I just walked right into the river. And luckily, the hiker behind me saved me by fishing me out of the river. I mean, I do believe that I would have survived, but it would have been a lot more dangerous. I would have lost my food. I would have lost probably a lot of stuff. Basically everything on the outside of my pack got washed away. And if I had done it even right, I would have because I had my pack fully buckled onto me, which you're not supposed to do. You're just supposed to have the shoulder straps. You're supposed to unbuckle the hip belt. So if you do get swept down, you can release your pack and save your life, because your life is more important than your pack. Also, I had my Garmin inside my backpack. I should have had that on the outside of my backpack, probably attached to myself or my clothing, because if I did released my pack, then I would have had my garment attached to me. So that's also something to keep in mind. Again, that pretty much covers everything. Sorry for going a little heavy on the ice axe, but I wanted to share what I didn't know because I didn't know any of that going into the Sierras, and it probably would have been helpful if I did. Again, I did go through the Sierra in a low snow year, and I am aware that this year, 2023, is most likely going to be a high snow year, so look into whatever the snow levels is on your year, and maybe go out there and find somebody who had a similar snow level than you, and look at their content and ask them some questions. Alright, that's all I got, so I guess until next time, may your elephants fly.